Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to wait for a few more people to log in. Numbers are still going up, so I'm just going to wait a little bit longer. Okay, fab. Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha Giroux. This is the Intelligent Mobility Accelerator Application Support webinar, so thank you for joining. We're in the 6th edition of this accelerator. So firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm the program manager. Ben Wilkinson, CPC program lead, and then Hector, the program manager from Wayra, will be talking to you in a moment as well. And I'll also be introducing the partners a little bit later. We're going to discuss the program and hopefully answer a lot of questions you might have about the benefit of the program and how it all works. We're going to introduce you to the partners and hear from them about things from their point of view. Hear from Transport API, the data that will be accessible through the program. Discuss the application process and how selection will work. And then Ben is actually going to run through a Q&A to answer any of your questions you might have about the program or for the partners. Firstly, an introduction to Connected Places Catapult. We are part of the Catapult network, which brings together 9 leading technology centres spanning over 40 locations across the UK. We're an independent non-for-profit, and Connected Places Catapult is one of the 9 centres, and we lead in fields such as mobility, built environment, critical infrastructure, etc. To date, our team has delivered 7 accelerator programs totaling 13 cohorts of SMEs. We've supported over 100 SMEs to work alongside a whole host of tier 1 industry stakeholders across mobility and built environment. And you can see here the different programs that we run. Just to talk a little bit about how CPC brings value to accelerators. We have a really diverse technical and market expertise and provide support in challenge discovery, due diligence, technical support, etc. Through our engagements with SMEs, we've grown our network to over 4,500 SMEs that have either taken part in or applied to one of our opportunities. And as a government-funded agency, we act as a neutral convening power within the market. So we have access to market actors, commercial partners, policymakers, and funding streams that can further support SMEs and our partners. Now I'm going to introduce you to Hector from Wayra to discuss Wayra and their involvement in the accelerator. Over to you, Hector.
Thank you so much, Natasha, and good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the webinar. We are really excited about this program. And as Natasha said, I am Hector Alemany. I am Accelerator Manager at Wayra UK, and I will be supporting also the program from Wayra. So Natasha, if we could go to the next slide. The next one. Okay, so Wayra, in order to introduce Wayra a little bit, Wayra is Telefónica's Open Innovation Hub, and it was founded 11 years ago. Next slide, please. So As Wayra, we are an open ecosystem, and we have a presence in 10 countries, which are mainly in Europe and in South America. And we work closely with tech partners, with corporates, with governments and investors, and we work with them with all our hubs around the world. Next slide, please. So globally, as Wayra, at Wayra we accelerate companies and we invest in companies. So globally, as Wayra, we have invested in more than 850 companies, and we have now more than 500 companies in our portfolio. And 139 of them are working currently with Telefónica. As Wayra and Telefónica, we have invested more than 169 million euro since the beginning of Wayra, and our startups have raised more than 1.9 billion euro from third-party investors. Next slide, please, Natasha. And so this was globally as Wayra, and looking at Wayra UK, we have accelerated more than 300 startups and invested in 200 of them. Our portfolio has a combined value of over $1 billion, and they have had 149 trials or contracts with Telefónica, generating $20 million in revenue for the startups. So, and we also invest in programs in startups, from the program, and we invest in different sectors. Next slide, please, Natasha. And so we would like to share with you some data or success stories from other cohorts. As Natasha shared at the beginning of the webinar, this is the 6th edition, and so far we have accelerated 44 startups and scale-ups, and they have had 32 commercial trials with the corporate partners. The startups from the program have raised $260 million in the program or after the program, and they have signed 4 resale contracts with O2. And here we have some of the startups who have had commercial trials or investment or both. And so one of the most important part of the program is to build and create this relationship with the partners. So and to have the possibility to have a POC with them and other stakeholders that we have at Wayra and Connected Places Catapult, and also to identify expansion opportunities for your company. And next slide, please, Natasha. So we wanted to share with you also the program structure. So first of all, the welcome week at the beginning of the program, we will have a meeting and we will identify your needs in order to create a tailored program for you, and also to introduce you to all the stakeholders. At the end of the program, we will host a demo day, and we invite as many relevant customers and investors as possible in order to listen to your company. So in the program, we will organize some mentor sessions, and it depends on your needs. So if you would like, for example, if we talked a bit at the beginning of the program that you would like to fundraise, we can organize those sessions for you. And it depends on your needs. We will organize these mentor sessions one-to-ones. In terms of business development, this is one of the most important part of the program, as the idea is to build this relationship with the partners, and also that we can introduce you to other stakeholders with the partners of the program, and also BM2 and Telefónica is also always interested in innovating in their company. In terms of investor network access, we as Wayra, we're investors, but we also have an investor network, and some of them are focused on the transport industry, and also we have a lot of them who invest in different sectors, and we would like to support you on your fundraising strategy. So you will be able to have a meeting with our investors in residence in order to be ready for your round and to support you as much as possible in fundraising. And finally, events and Wayra perks. So we will organize events for you, and we have Wayra perks that you can see on the website, and you will have access to all of these solutions. So so this is mainly what I wanted to talk about Wayra and what I wanted to say. So Natasha, thank you so much, and over to you again.
Thank you, Hector. That was really, really interesting. Okay, I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper into the accelerator, moving on from what Hector just told us. So just in summary, I am Accelerator, Intelligent Mobility Accelerator. It's a partnership between CPC and Wayra. This year, we're partnering with the Department for Transport, Network Rail, Transport for London and Amey. And the program's really designed to support disruptive startups with a lot of potential into breaking into the UK transport industry and helping them grow into world-leading companies. A little bit about our journey so far. The numbers really speak for themselves. Across 5 programs, we've supported 44 SMEs, going on to gain 33 commercial trials and raise over 80 million in investment and 3.5 million in additional C&D funding. This year, there are 2 support streams running alongside each other. So we have the technical stream from CPC, where we'll support the selected SMEs in technical development and working on proving new use cases with the partners. And then Wayra will be doing the commercial stream and supporting SMEs on aspects of business modeling, investment strategy, and investor introductions. So the program structure, it's going to last for 6 months from the beginning of June to November. And it's really designed to take you on a journey in accelerating new products to market and commercial development. As you can see, each month has a different theme and associated workshops for you to attend with planned networking events. We do appreciate that you have your own businesses to run, even though you also want to get the most out of the program. So we try to make it quite light touch with 3 key days a month for workshop activity, and then optional weekly check-ins to track your progress and touch base throughout the program. Okay, so the challenges are a really important part of the application process. You need to be able to meet one or more of the challenges. So the first challenge is decarbonizing mobility. So within this challenge, we're looking at what technology or business models can support the industry in reducing or eliminating pollution through sustainable transport choices, sustainable technology and infrastructure, but also influencing a modal shift and encouraging active travel choices. Challenge 2 is improving experience. So for this challenge, we're looking at how we understand current and future mobility users in a way that can support industry in offering safe and accessible transport to all. And then the final challenge, connected mobility, is really looking at what disruptive technologies and business models will enable both our rural and urban environments to become more connected to support those previous 2 challenges. The kind of technologies we're looking at in Decarbonizing Mobility Challenge is EV and charging technology, logistics and supply chain decarbonisation, accelerating that modal shift we discussed, achieving net zero, of course, and sustainable mobility modes. The second challenge, improving experience, we'll be looking at optimizing transport networks, understanding the user, enhancing road safety, improving transport accessibility, COVID response and recovery, and safety for vulnerable travellers. The final challenge, connected mobility, will look at rural and urban connectivity, enhancing road safety, new connected mobility models, multimodal connectivity, and autonomous systems. And more details on each challenge can be found on the website. Right, really exciting part of the webinar, an introduction to the partners. We have the DFT, represented by James Tickler, Head of Innovation in the Science, Innovation and Technology Division. We have Benjamin Ford from Network Rail, he's in Research, Technology and Innovation. And then Jake Harrison, Innovation Business Partner at Amey. They're going to discuss a little bit about how they've engaged with SMEs in the past, what they're looking to get out of the accelerator, and how the challenges discussed are aligned to their organisation. So I'd like to introduce James to discuss a little bit from the DFT's point of view. Welcome, James.
Thanks, Natasha. Can you guys hear me all right? I'm going to assume you can. But yes, welcome everyone. Good morning to all. As Natasha said, I'm James Tickler, and I head up innovation within the Science, Innovation, Technology division within DFT. So this is the team that reports to the Chief Scientist in Department for Transport. So I've had this role for about 3 years, and I do quite a lot of work with SMEs, particularly through our TRIG program, where we offer typically small, so 30k proof of concept grants to ideas from all across transport, so all modes, all technologies, and we have a lot of success sort of planting 1,000 flowers and then watching them bloom later on. So working at those lower technology readiness levels, and this accelerator is the first one that DFT have been involved in, and it's really exciting to be working at a slightly higher technology readiness level, and trying to really sort of select the try and sort of select the projects that we think are really going to support our strategic priorities and give them a helping hand. So I'm hoping that this DFT's involvement in this accelerator is a really special opportunity. I'll come on to sort of DFT's strategic priorities in a sec, but this kind of thing, so working closely with SMEs in this way, isn't something that DFT typically does, but it is very in line with certainly our goals around being more active in terms of growth and the economy. So I'm very keen to see how this works, to see whether we can bring in sort of relevant policy colleagues to play some of that mentoring role that Hector was describing, and to see whether that really does help you guys in your work, and see whether it also helps DFT colleagues get a better idea of how innovation works, talk to innovators, understand the process that whereby new solutions come into market and can be implemented. And the other thing I'm really interested in is how well this process works for physical innovations, because I can see how digital innovations, which can evolve very rapidly, you can go through that design, build, test cycle very quickly with a digital technology. And I get how Accelerator can really sort of turbocharge that, and whether it works just as well in the physical realm, because a lot of the things that DFT are interested in are going to be physical technologies, be they energy technologies, fuel technologies for sort of decarbonisation, or other sort of engineering, mechanical type of things that might support infrastructure or vehicles or whatever it is. So in terms of how the challenges for this accelerator are aligned to DFT's strategic priorities, they're very close. So we've got four that are relevant. One is around growing and levelling up the economy. DFT very much sees transport as an enabler of the sort of the government-wide levelling up mission. Everything we do has to improve transport for the user, and you can see how new solutions will do that quite directly. Reducing environmental impacts, so both carbon, obviously, where transport is the biggest emitting sector, and we have some massive challenges to solve over the next 28 years or so to really bring transport down to as near zero as it possibly can, net zero. And then finally, our fourth strategic priority is around increasing our global impact. And it's through initiatives like this where we can help SMEs, we can help innovators, we can help people with ideas, that we can actually support new products that are going to lead to jobs, growth, and exports. And so this is squarely in sits squarely in that global impact strategic priority. But I'm very excited to be here today. I'm even more excited to see who is successful in the competition in a few weeks' time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, James. That was really interesting. So we've got a question come through and we'll address that later. But I just want to say now, because I didn't say it earlier, do pop your questions in the Q&A and we'll address those later. So I'd like to introduce Benjamin Ford now from Network Rail. Benjamin's actually got some slides to share, so I'm going to stop sharing the time being and introduce Benjamin.
Hello. Hang on, I'm just getting my slides to share. Okay, hang on. I'm not so very used to Zoom. There we go. Hopefully you can all see that one now.
Do you want to turn your camera on, Ben?
Okay, I'll turn my camera on as well. I'll do that too. So you can see my current beard. I'm off to Canada in a couple of weeks, so I'm keeping this until then. So yeah, hello. Thank you for giving me a bit of time to chat about this and for coming on to attend. So I'm Ben Ford. I work in Network Rail. In particular, I'm in the systems operator research technology innovation team, which is slightly distinct from the sort of the wider R&D function, which is in engineering and tends to focus on infrastructure. I'm more interested in services and in how we provide services to customers and how we connect up with wider transport modes and some of those bigger, longer term questions like that. Mobility to service, mobility on demand is kind of the big thing that we see coming that we need to prepare for. So that's kind of what I focus on quite a bit. So I used to work in SME innovation in a consulting company. So in my experience, the thing that's probably most useful to you is to have an understanding of the things that we care about in this space, so you can get a clue of whether you really want to come and pitch it to us or not. So what I propose to do is give you a bit of a view of what I think is happening in this world. So this is kind of a bit of a vignette of the mobility as a service thing and where I think that goes in the future. I think we're seeing a future where we'll have people with their own personal devices, and that's going to be a wide range of different people and getting insight for their journeys. We're going to need some kind of central brain that works across modes to feed valuable information into that to allow us to manage the networks, the overall transport networks. And then we're going to need a set of sort of individual modal brains to manage the detailed planning and operations of those modes in delivering that overall capability. So I think there's a whole world of stuff to be done here. There's real-time measurement, which we've already got some stuff going on there in the telecom space. So telecoms is quite useful for that. Then there's customer insight that we need to gather from that. So there's a telecoms angle there, but there's also a whole bunch of getting people's permissions to share their data. There's a whole smart data piece there that needs to be thought about, and magic needs to be done by clever people. And then into real-time prediction, again, there's more cleverness needed there. And then that lets us sort of plan our services, and we need to push those back up. And we also need to find good ways to nudge people in a way that's contextual. So rather than have a free cup of coffee if you go this way instead of that way, actually meaningful nudges to them that will help them achieve their purpose, which therefore requires better insight about them and what they need in the first place as well. So on that journey, I've sort of got some challenges here, so I can share these slides with you all. And so the first and last columns are industry agreed goals from the railway as a whole. They're brought together from a few different places. We don't normally look at it from the perspective specifically. And I think really for this accelerator, you're looking at the first two columns really. If you've got stuff that can contribute in those first two columns, then please do apply, and please do get in touch with me and talk about how I can help, because I can be flexible and find ways to navigate the madness of rail and the railways in general. So those ones I've highlighted, the ones which I'm expecting are likely you're going to have a go at, but anything in those first two columns is interesting. A bit more on what I think those challenges look like then. So I think decarbonisation. Okay, I'm kind of for me the main thing is about making rail convenient, because rail is low carbon mode. There is a thing about new freight models that are emerging, understanding how they might work, parcels as passengers and some of those things. And yeah, there might be some gold in those hills for some of you, and I can connect you up to people who are interested in that and doing that sort of stuff too. So the experience stuff is maybe more where I'm interested. I think that some of the key challenges that we see, there's the integration across providers, particularly proprietary bus ticketing formats, are a barrier to creating sort of a truly joined up mass system. There's complexity of rail ticketing and the fact that's embedded in ticket sale rules. You might have some clever ways of navigating those if you look at them. Getting information to travellers, not just on the services, but on other contextual information that's relevant to them and where they are, might be relevant to their particular needs, and might be relevant to how they connect between modes. And I think that's going to be increasingly important. And also understanding how you create that access and usability for everybody, from the whole customer journey. So not just the physical journey, but actually the whole customer journey, right? In a commercial sense of from planning all the way through to I've got to my destination, or I've got home from my destination, more accurately maybe. So that whole planning and and getting to the station, the first mile and the last mile, and the transaction of the ticketing and all the whole thing. And then there's an aspect of that which I think we sometimes overlook around being and feeling secure, including in crowds. There's some real problems, particularly in big cities, sort of quite antisocial behaviour and some inappropriate touching and some of the stuff that goes on in crowded environments sometimes, and more than you might hear about. More than it's often a taboo subject. People don't talk about it very much, but actually it's something that makes people feel uncomfortable. So we need solutions to that. With some of the new camera technologies and behaviour recognition technologies, maybe there's some options there to tackle some of that sort of stuff as well. Then on the connection side, so I think the key thing is that I suppose I'm repeating myself really, that feed-forward feedback thing. So nudging people based on their intent, based on contextual information. So I'm going to London. I'm going to Glasgow to visit an office up there. When I get there, I can take a bus, but actually it's a nice day and I could walk through a park. But I know that I could do that, maybe not. But if I've got something that can understand the sorts of behaviours I'm likely to exhibit and contextualise those environment, and then suggest actually you might want to walk this bit of the journey because it's quite nice, or something like that. So some of those sorts of things. We see clock face timetables maybe are going away. Integrating micro-mobility is becoming important. All these other things here. I think getting it's important to recognise mass is mainly a business problem. Actually, it's mainly about integrating between businesses. So I think in some ways, if you've got solutions to help that's really useful and really interesting to us. And then measurement and data. So the networks are huge. The cost of installing things to measure things is enormous. So coming along with hardware I have to install everywhere to measure things isn't great. Finding ways to cleverly produce that information with minimal measurement or from existing data in a way that is validated and reliable is great, or just ways to minimize the measurement costs and time. And rapid optimization, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. Automation service planning is they're areas of great interest. If you've got stuff that can help with that, that's great. They're slightly more integrated into the depths of the network rail technology ecosystem. So I'll need to help you connect up with the right people who can really answer those questions and help you do that, if that's where your interests lie. So that's me done, I think.
Thanks, Benjamin.
Yeah, work with you all and help you however suits your business and suits the railway's interest, really.
Thank you. Do you want to stop sharing your screen and then I can get my slides up? Thank you very much. Okay, so I'd like to introduce Jake Harrison from Amey now to discuss things from Amey's side.
Well, thanks, Natasha. Hi, everyone. Yeah, as Natasha mentioned, my name is Jake Harrison. I am an innovation business partner for Amey, specifically within our transport infrastructure division. I'll give you a quick background as to who Amey are for those who don't know, as we're a little bit more in the background, I would say, compared to the guys who presented before me. Obviously, DFT and Network Rail need no introduction. So we are primarily or traditionally a infrastructure and engineering organization. We deliver services for our clients, such as in the rail sector, primarily Network Rail, and usually for our sort of national and local partners, local government and national government partners. So we work with national highways. We work closely with multiple different local authorities, both in England, Scotland and Wales. We also have some services in Northern Ireland, and we do a little bit of stuff internationally as well. So as I mentioned, we're primarily an infrastructure and engineering company. So we do anything from highways maintenance, so pothole repairs or looking after street lighting or whatever it might be. But as time's evolved, we have wanted to look at more of the services and consulting services that we can deliver for our clients in the area that we have expertise in, i.e. the highway, i.e. the rail network, i.e. the stations that people move through every day as part of the services we deliver. So we also have within our team, there's a guy called Luke Ward, who will be heavily involved in this program as well, who couldn't join us today, but he heads up our intelligent mobility team as well. And we work closely to identify solutions that are beneficial also for ourselves, but also mainly for our partners and for our clients. So a little bit about our work with SMEs so far. So Amey have been involved, we're currently involved in 2 accelerator programs with CPC, and we've been involved in the Intelligent Mobility Accelerator, I think, for the past 5 cohorts, maybe since cohort 2 or cohort 3. It's my 2nd year directly involved in it, and we've also we're involved in another accelerator program with CPC, and we have also ran our own accelerator program again with CPC as partners at a Staffordshire Live Labs program, which I think 1 or 2 of the cohort are on today. We've had a really great pleasure so far of working with some fantastic SMEs that have come through these processes, that some of which are now integrated as part of our business as usual offering to our clients, some of which have been who we haven't had an opportunity to work with directly, but we've been able to introduce them to the clients that can, work with them and get the benefits that they offer. But we've also integrated a lot of these SMEs into our supply chain as well, which is not only offer us, from our own perspective, selfishly, it's a differentiator for us within the marketplace. But mainly we're passionate about getting the right technology into the services that we offer, which is public facing. So that's a really big part of it for us. Now, in terms of the okay, sorry, I was just reading the comment at the bottom. I thought it might be my connectivity that people couldn't hear. So in terms of what we're looking for and how we align with the challenges, I think the other 2 that have come before me probably articulated it perfectly as being what we do is we take the needs and wants of our clients and we go to the market to identify the solutions as we see fit and integrate them into our supply chain. So all of the challenges that I've just mentioned within the mobility space are of importance to us. We're looking at how we can better utilize real-time information. We're really interested in some smart and connected infrastructure, both through the roadside, the railway, that's the strategic road network, so looking at motorways, but also the local road network as well, and how we can pass on information to residents and users of those services. But we're also not just interested, and this is something that's come out relatively throughout the last few mobility accelerators. Not only are we interested in urban solutions that would be typical you'd find in big towns and cities, we've also started to see a welcome transition into rural or semi-rural solutions where most of the population actually live. Mostly we saw innovation focused on large cities. We're now starting to see the market grow. So anything related to rural mobility would be of fantastic interest to us as well. I don't really have much else to say other than we're really looking forward to working with people, really looking forward to reading the applications, and seeing what this program brings. So like I said, we've had some fantastic outputs so far. So thank you for listening today, and look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Thanks, Jake. We're looking forward to working with you for a sixth time. So I didn't mention this before, TfL are one of our partners, but unfortunately they're not available today, so we won't be able to hear from them. But I'd now like to pass on to Jonathan Raper from Transport API. So as part of the program, we are offering SMEs access to Transport API. So Jonathan is going to tell you more about the service and how it can support you in providing use cases to the partners. And Jonathan has some slides to share as well. So I'll stop sharing my screen. There we go. Thanks.
Okay, folks. Good morning. Delighted to be here, and I'm proud to be partnering with the Catapult. I'm going to just briefly run through what we can provide to this program, and that involves explaining what we do, how Transport API works. I'll give you some examples of how we've been used that might stimulate your thinking in terms of the kind of proposition you can put forward. And I'll summarize at the end what we can do for you during the program. So Transport API is a transport data aggregator. These are the kinds of things we do. We sit in the middle between data providers and typically app developers, although obviously there are a wide range of applications like analytics and so on that use transport data. You can see around the outside a number of the things that we do. The essential thing here for you as startups is not to reinvent the wheel and not to waste time doing things that you can efficiently get from providers as a service. Now, the classic startup mantra, no undifferentiated heavy lifting, means that you shouldn't do anything that you can buy as a service. You should concentrate on your special value add. And then in this program, Transport API is here to give you access to lots of transport data. It's all available at a RESTful API. You can pull that in, and you can get to market quicker. That's the aim. We do that through the delivery of managed services. This is our 4-step process. We read data, we store it in our databases, we apply data quality metrics, we police the data upstream and work with upstream providers when there are problems. And believe me, every day there are problems in data across the industry. And then finally, we expose that as a RESTful JSON API. You can see there that we're covering bus information, which means timetables and live departures, tracking bus fares, bus performance, rail information, right across the industry from Network Rail to National Rail, journey planning, places. We also introducing disruption messaging. We have been running the Open Data Hub for Transport for the North, and we're now bringing that on board of Transport API. So we offer all this data, and we want you to fill your boots. In summary, here's a little part of our documentation. Transport API for the non-technical is essentially, it's like having a web address for every bit of data about the transport network, every bus that's moving, every rail fare, every bus route, all those things, every disruption on the network, all those things we aggregate and make available. Just a small example of the kind of things that we do to make the information usable. There's an app screen in one of your transport apps. This happens to be the first group app that we power. Just producing that list of departures from a stop involves all this logic about the integration of different sources, how to integrate, when to integrate, what blending to do. And we do all of that, reading from the right source, integrating all this decision tree in under 500 milliseconds. So we've done this so you don't have to. That's the message. Now, a few things we've done, just to give you examples. During COVID, we were asked to enable space on buses, occupancy, to be aggregated and integrated into the first group apps. You can see here a screenshot from the first bus app showing the number of seats free on buses, in this case in Stoke-on-Trent. This works across the country. This was sufficiently highly rated in Scotland that the Scottish Parliament actually laid down a motion congratulating First Group on providing this information, which was very important to helping people return to public transport as COVID evolved. Here's something we do for Transport for the West Midlands. We power their bus performance dashboard. If you look at the second black column to the right, the TJT, the timetable journey time in black, and then you compare it with the RJT, which is the real journey times that we record by tracking every bus. You then get that histogram column, the RJT percentage of time passengers must add. And that tells you how unreliable buses are from one destination to another. We provide that dashboard information to help Transport for the West Midlands make decisions about interventions to make on the network and to hold operators to account. And this data is automatically gathered and provided in this dashboard every month. Another project we did with Ford. Ford actually tracked 50 cars for 3 months, comparing, recording every journey that they made. This was in London. And every time a journey was finished, we worked out what the equivalent public transport journey, how long that would have taken. And so you can see here 1,000 journeys, average duration only 16 minutes. And the proportion that was faster by public transport, only 22%. If you look at the map, the green lines are where public transport was faster, axial journeys into the centre of London. So this shows you the magnitude of the challenge to decarbonise transport, to persuade people to jump out of their cars. And it's only by being able to run this kind of analysis at scale that you can get to grips with this kind of problem. Finally, here's an analysis of multimodal fares. The pictures at the top show you the price per mile of rail fares from 3 different stations. The darker the colour, the more expensive that journey. So you can see that from Salford, the journeys are more expensive to the south than they are to Scotland and the north, whereas in St Albans, they're more expensive to the north and cheaper per mile into London. And it's completely different in Norwich. It's an east-west split. So by looking at our rail fare data, you can explore this kind of thing. And you see in the table at the bottom, a very detailed analysis comparing taxi and rail fares in and around Portsmouth. We now also have bus fares across the country. And so for the first time, it's possible to do something like compare the market for commuter journeys or leisure journeys by public transport and to compare them compare the different modes. So final example, bus delays and roadworks, working with one network. Here, the coloured circles tell you bus delays at stops. Green is obviously low delays, red is high delays. The triangles are roadworks. You can see which roadworks are delaying buses on this chart and which ones are not. And again, that's the sort of intervention that local transport authorities, that's the sort of data they need to know what interventions to make. So what can we do for you then in summary? We can give you access to our Transport API managed services, and you can fill your boots with that data. We can give you advice about data sourcing and development. There is lots of data out there. We have an encyclopedic knowledge of where that data is, which content that you need to drill down to. We can help you make contacts. We know how to make contact with almost everybody that's operating the sector. Some of those people are not that visible, but play important roles. We might be able to help you make contact with them, and also, of course, help you understand what's already been done and what's not been done. Finally, we have been a startup ourselves. We've had a startup journey. We've been where you are, and so we share your pain. We understand your pain at this stage and all the uncertainties and challenges. And therefore, hopefully we can give you advice that helps you from the perspective of the journey that you're on. So that's me.
Thank you, John. Okay, so I'm just gonna talk a little bit now about application and selection, which I'm sure you're really interested in. The deadline for applications is Friday, the 15th of April. You can find the application page online, but we have got a QR code here, which you can scan on your phone to take you to the application page. The eligibility criteria, preferably we'd like a TRL of 6 or more. So you've got a validated prototype with market traction. You need an innovative solution that addresses one or more of the challenges, and commitment and willingness to engage in the program to get the most out of the program. The selection process after the deadline for applications is as follows. We will create a shortlist and then put that shortlist through 2 rounds of interviews. So a technical assessment and then final interviews with the partners. Welcome week will then be commencing May 30th. We'll have the 6-month Accelerator program ending with demo day on November 3rd. James Tickler is just going to talk a little bit now about the importance of equality, diversity, and inclusion factors in that selection process.
Thanks, Natasha. So yeah, EDI really, really something we take really seriously, certainly in the science team and also in DFT more widely. It's a ministerial priority. It's also a priority of our chief scientist, Professor Sarah Sharples, and hence it's also a big priority for me. We know that both transport and innovation can be weak on diversity, and hence that transport innovation, where you've got the crossover of the two, can be in some places really bad for diversity and inclusion. So what we'd like to do with this accelerator is really try and drive good practice in the sector in EDI, because we know that the best solutions to problems come from processes where you take in lots of different views, lots of different understandings, lots of different lived experiences, and that's how you develop the most robust and the most fit solutions for any kind of challenge. So hence we really want you guys to be building this into everything you do. So as part of the sort of the final selection process that Natasha outlined, when we come to interview the best proposals, we're going to want to hear about your approach to EDI. We're going to want to know what you sort of think about it, but also what you do in your everyday work. So does your company have a sort of a statement or a policy around equality, diversity, and inclusion? What steps do you actually take to make sure that you're sort of living that? But also, if you're looking at solutions, for example, that might help accessibility on the transport system, are you actually involving people from the specific groups that you're trying to help in the generation of that solution? So are you asking real users about what their needs are? And we'll also be wanting to know a little bit about the sort of the diversity of the teams and the people that make up your companies. So this includes people in leadership positions as well as people delivering the actual work. So this is a big priority to us, and it's really important. And if anyone does want to talk a little bit more about this, what sort of good looks like, I'm very happy to pick that up offline. Thanks, Natasha.
Thanks, James. Yeah, it's a really important point, and we're really excited to see how you guys are addressing that. So alongside, in the technical assessment, alongside assessing your technical capabilities, we're also going to be looking at the viability of your solution. the feasibility of your proposal in terms of, is it achievable within the time frame, the scalability of your solution post-program, and the sustainable merit of your solution. In that final interview, we're going to be reviewing against your project proposal, your team's capability, if your solution is addressing the challenges set, your current market traction, your business model, financials, investment raised, EDI, as discussed by James as well. So now we're going to move on to the Q&A. I'm going to introduce Ben Wilkinson, the program lead, to field the questions. Thank you for listening up to this point, and do use this opportunity to ask any of the questions that have come to mind during the session.
Thanks, Natasha, and thanks everyone, all the partners for coming and joining us today. There's lots of insight shared, which I'm sure will help lots of you on your applications. So I'm here to be the Q&A man this morning. So I'm going to go through all of the Q&As that have been asked so far. So I'll start with Kate Barnard's question. She's asked, what sort of TRL level would your innovation need to be eligible? I think that was answered just previously in Natasha's slides. So we do look at TRL 6 and above as a preference. Some do tend to fall just under that, but if there is sort of value that we can provide through the program to get you those TRL increased rapidly, we will definitely take that into consideration. So what I would say is, that wasn't a good time for Amazon to knock on the door. So what I would say is, don't be afraid on applying just if you are under that TRL 6 level. Still do apply. On to the next question from David Stewart. On the challenges, if we cover more than one of these, should we focus on meeting the use case of one of them? I think what we might look to do, if possible, is allow you to select more than one challenge to actually apply against through this program. We're just checking if that's we're able to do so. If not, what I would say is exactly that. Do focus on the actual use case that you would propose to focus on as part of the program, and which specific challenge that address the best. On to the next question. And also, if there's anyone in the room today that is unable to type, please just do raise your hand, and then we'll get we'll be able to ask you verbally your question. There's a question here from Slava. Are the challenges, do they have the same weight? Did you mean weight? And how many teams per challenge will be accepted? I think what I believe you're asking is there a preference on which challenges are solved? Absolutely not. I think when it comes to the selection process, we will look to select a cohort of up to 10 SMEs that are addressing the challenges that are across the board. So realistically, it could be 3 SMEs solving challenge 1, 3 solving challenge 2, and then 4 solving challenge 3. How many teams per challenge? So I think that, again, it's more about making sure that we're solving the challenges across the board rather than giving a preference to how many per challenge. Oh, we did mean weight. There you go. So on the next question. Cool. Question from Josh Liu. If not selected, can we get the support with Transport API? Unfortunately, this is a paid service, so it's something that we're paying for on behalf of the startups as part of the program. I know obviously there is a sort of subscription or cost associated to Transport API outside of the program. So if you are interested in that, should you not be selected, please do reach out to Jonathan directly.
Can I just say that we do have a free trial on Transport API, so if you're not selected, you can go and use the free data we offer there.
No, you guys a much better answer than mine. Another question from Josh: is the program free? Do we give any equity away from the program? No, absolutely no fees attached to it or equity at all on this accelerator program. It's much more focused around providing SMEs the opportunity to bring new products and services to market, and also helping the industry partners to really harness that innovation as well. Question from James Datson. Retransport API, in terms of can you fill your boots through our data, is there a limit or cost to this promise for the cohort? Great presentation. Okay, good fan there. Jonathan, maybe you want to answer that one again in terms of
yes, there are some limits. It's a pretty high ceiling for those who are selected for the program. The high ceiling is mainly associated with data that has some upstream cost, but we would work with any of the selected startups to make sure that they had the data that they needed.
Thanks. Yeah, and I guess just to reiterate that we're providing this for the duration of the program, so it would be a 6-month access. Okay, so next question from Phil Shadbolt. If we're successful, how will you help us to access finance for scale up? In terms of finance, so I presume you mean investment. Hector, if you want to, do you want to answer this one in more context, or if you're still there?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Thank you, Ben. Yeah, in terms of fundraising, what we do in order to support the startups participating in the program is, first of all, if you're interested, we will organize a masterclass and a one-to-one with our investors in residence. So they are focused on supporting companies to be ready to raise investment. So they will support you on all of that. And also in terms of investment, we as Wayra will analyze your company, and also we will share your round with our investor network. And if they are interested, we will introduce you to them. And as I said before, we have investors investing in different sectors, but we also have transport investors, so focused on this type of solutions. And yeah, we will try to support you as much as possible on your fundraising strategy, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, Hector. Yeah, and alongside that, I think what we'd look to do from the CPC side is bring in our sort of grant team to notify the cohort of all the latest CR&D funding opportunities that are available, and maybe provide support on which ones are best and how to apply for them and things like that. On to the next question from Yale Shomron. That's a question around the EDI. So you've already applied, we didn't see any questions that was regarding that in the application. That's correct. What we're going to do as the applications are closing, so at the end of, I believe it was the 15th of April, so just before that, to all of the applicants, we'll be sending around a quick survey to capture that information rather than adding it into the application form, which is already quite long. So we'll be doing that in a couple of weeks' time. So make sure to keep check of your emails. A question from Slava Lukin on to apply for more than one challenge, do you need to submit a separate application for each challenge? So I've just been checking with Wayra that we can actually make it so that you can select more than one challenge. If not, yeah, feel free to put through two at this stage, and we'll sort that out. The final question we have, actually, so from Ian Richardson, logistics and supply chain is mentioned, but is this the priority transport of people rather than goods and materials? And Ben just put his hand up, so I presume you want to answer that question.
Well, yeah. So for me, the answer to that is very clearly no. From a rail perspective, freight is really, really important, and new ways to improve and enhance freight is really important and interesting. New freight modes are coming on stream. Parcels as passengers is of great interest. Freight grew during the coronavirus, and their aims to continue to increase that growth. So yeah, I want to hear about your freight stuff, even if nobody else does.
James.
Can I just come in? Yeah, thanks, Ben. I was just going to say that, just looking at the decarbonisation challenge, it's really tough, and we can't just go for the sort of things like cars. Really important. There's a big chunk of our emissions, but we have to try and do all of it. And there's lots and lots of little areas of freight where things are maybe not decarbonised yet, but also we know that they're currently not very efficient, they're not optimised. And so ideas in freight are really, really interesting. So yes, please.
Yeah, and I guess just to add to that is we're not going to be just biased towards companies that put forward applications that are looking to utilise Transport API. We are looking at all applications that are coming in and